insert the letter G and the following. Nothing in this section shall be construed to require an employer to offer a health benefit plan to its employees that provides for more than a 3-month supply of hormonal contraceptives to be dispensed or furnished at one time unless prescribed to treat a pathological condition or disease.
The gentleman from Prince William, Mr. Marshall.
Mr. Speaker, addressing my amendment.
Yes, sir. That's
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, the normal use of the contraception is for birth control. It does have other uses, as I've specified here, and that would be fine to have them administered or made available beyond the normal 3 months, which is the kind of what is the standard practice right now. But, Mr. Speaker, if an individual can take a drug for voluntary purpose, what is to stop this assembly from having other drugs taken for voluntary purposes and then the individual employee quits the next month? So you've got an employer paying for drugs for 12 months for somebody that leaves. I just would call to the attention of the members here 3 items with respect to oral contraceptives. This is from the World Health Organization, 2005, International Agency for Research on Cancer. In 1999, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified combined oral contraceptives as carcinogenic to humans, Group 1. They reaffirmed this in 2005, identifying that COCs modify slightly the risk of cancer, increasing it in some sites, cervix, breast, and liver, decreasing in others, endometrium and ovary. Mr. Speaker, in the late 2016, JAMA Psychiatry published an article indicating that oral contraceptive users have higher rates of use of drugs for depression and diagnosis of depression. Dr. Ojevin Lindegard of the University of Copenhagen and colleagues looked at the medical records of more than 1 million young women and girls aged 15 to 34 from 1995 to 2013. The study found that women who used hormonal contraception, mostly birth control pills, but also implants and patches, were 40% more likely to get a prescription for an antidepressant or to be diagnosed with depression. Teenagers were 80% more likely. Mr. Speaker, talking about long-term use of OCs, this is from the Harvard School of Public Health, published in the American Journal of Public Health, titled Oral Contraceptive Use Association with Frequency of Hospitalization and Chronic Disease Risk Indicators. This is a quote from the summary. OC users were hospitalized for many non-life-threatening conditions 20 to 40% more frequently than were non-users. Now, why this is extremely important is because the oral contraceptive users are the most optimally healthful women in the United States. You have to be of a certain health condition, high health, because of all the contraindications that the Federal Food and Drug Administration. So when you take the healthiest segment of the population and you end up with 20 to 40% going to the hospital more often than women who don't use this, I would suggest that long-term use
is this cruel and unusual punishment as well?
From Arlington, Mr. Lopez. What's he doing?
It's a form of harassment.
Okay. You get in trouble for that, you know.
No, that was...
Gentleman, about wound up?
Oh, I'm wound up all the time, Mr. Speaker.
I know that.
But, Mr. Speaker, again, this doesn't prevent the use of this. It just limits it beyond 3 months for a pathological condition or disease, and it maintains a status quo with respect to the normal 3 months prescription. So I urge adoption of the amendment.
The gentleman from Virginia Beach, Mr. Stolley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rise and speak to the amendment.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm quite frankly was lost on some of the comments that the gentleman was making. I would say on this underlying bill, the purpose of the underlying bill is to ensure or to remove barriers to safe, reliable birth control for the women of Virginia. That's what the bill does. What the amendment does is undermines the basic function of this bill. It puts in increased barriers to safe, reliable birth control. I hope the members of the body reject the amendment.
Gentlewoman from Fairfax, Ms. Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I certainly associate myself with the previous remarks. And I am very glad, though, to have heard the comments on this amendment by its sponsor, because it really underscores that it's about not using contraceptives. For another bill, I had searched the code. There are 49 instances where Food and Drug Administration is cited specifically about the drugs to be used, about the procedures to be followed, and it is beyond me why in this one case, while we are questioning why women, when it's would be totally under a doctor's control, could not have access to a 12-month supply of Food and Drug Administration-approved birth control. It is a basic part of our health care, and I hope that it'll be the pleasure of the body to reject this amendment.
Mr. Speaker?
You can press your little button. I might get to you soon. Gentlewoman from Fairfax, Ms. Fillercorn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to commend the delegate for his from Virginia Beach for his comments as well. I believe strongly that what this amendment does is that it negates the public health purpose of the bill 100% and supplants the best judgment of a physician with that of elected officials and politicians. If you supported my bill in committee, which allows women to pick up a full year's supply of hormonal contraceptives if prescribed by a doctor, you want to vote no on this amendment. A vote for this amendment is a vote against my bill, HB 2267.
The gentleman from Scott, Mr. Kilgore.
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion. Mr. Speaker, I
has the
move the
floor.
pending question.
Gentleman from Scott moves the pending question. Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Pending question is called for. The pending question is on the floor amendment. Shall the floor amendment be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The floor amendment is rejected. Shall the bill be engrossed and pass its third reading? Those in favor of that motion will say